Story 1. I never planned on spending my summer working at a McDonald's just off Route 32 in Milford, Ohio. But life doesn't always care about plans. It was the break between my sophomore and junior year at Ohio Western, and I just found out that my father had quietly emptied what little was left in my college savings account to settle a gambling debt. Mom hadn't even told me until I called home about tuition. He was trying to fix it, she said in that half-apologetic, half-resigned voice she'd perfected over years of living with disappointment. Fix it. So I picked up the pieces. I moved into a dingy two-bedroom apartment in a complex that reeked of weed and mildew, started taking more shifts at McDonald's, and decided not to think too hard about everything I was missing. It was supposed to be temporary, just long enough to get things stable. That summer in Milford was hot. The kind of sticky, suffocating heat that made even standing still feel like a chore. The air conditioning at the McDonald's was weak at best, but the fryers and grills never took a day off. Every shift ended with my uniform clinging to my back and the smell of old grease baked into my hair. Most of my coworkers were high schoolers killing time before college, or adults who'd given up pretending this was a stepping stone. I didn't judge them. We were all just trying to survive the day. I worked the front register most shifts. "Hi, welcome to McDonald's. What can I get started for you?" Smile. Tap the touch screen. Handle the coupons. Try not to flinch at the occasional asshole who thought customer service meant servitude. By July, I knew all the regulars. There was Mrs. Bellamy, who ordered a small coffee and egg white sandwich every morning at 7:12 sharp, and Todd, a delivery driver who swore the McDouble had too much government in it, but still ordered 3 daily. Familiar faces, familiar rhythm. Until the day that man walked in. It was a Tuesday, July 16th. I only remember that because I had written it on a Post-it and stuck it inside my locker to remind myself of my financial aid deadline. I'd just finished ringing up a family of 5 when I saw him. Middle-aged. Maybe late 40s. Pale skin that looked like it hadn't seen sunlight in weeks. Wearing a faded green jacket that didn't match the 87-degree weather outside. But it was his face I noticed most. Or rather, how little of it I could see. His eyes were hidden beneath the brim of a tan baseball cap. He had a trimmed gray beard, sharp jaw, and no expression. None. He didn't even glance at the menu board. Just stepped up to my register and said, "Double quarter pounder, no pickles, medium fry, medium Coke." "Sure," I said, trying to stay upbeat. "That'll be $8.62. He handed me a 10. His fingers brushed mine for a split second too long. I pulled my hand back subtly. "Order number 247, I called as I stapled the receipt to the bag. He didn't say thank you, just stood there staring at the receipt, then slowly walked to the far corner of the dining area and sat down facing the register. No phone, no earbuds, just watching. 10 minutes passed. He didn't touch his food. Eventually, I got distracted. A tourist group came in, then a birthday party with way too many screaming kids. When I looked back toward the corner, he was gone. I didn't think much of it. Strange people pass through every day. We were right off the highway. But then Thursday, he came back. Same order, same tone, same seat. This time, he stared at me the whole time he ate. Not at the register. At me. My coworker Nia, who was wiping down trays, noticed. "You know that dude's been staring at you for like 20 minutes straight, right?" she whispered. "Ignore it," I said, forcing a smile I didn't feel. "He's probably just awkward." She wrinkled her nose. "Nah, girl, that's not awkward. That's predatory." When he left that day, he didn't throw out his trash, just stood up and walked out, leaving the tray untouched. On the receipt, he'd underlined the order number, 247, 3 times in red pen. I didn't sleep well that night. The next time he came in, Saturday, I wasn't at the front. I was in the back helping restock cups. My coworker Kyle handled the register. But the man didn't order. He asked flatly, "Where's the girl?" Kyle, clueless, said something like, "You mean Nia?" "No," the man said. "The other one. The one who usually takes the orders." Kyle shrugged. "She's on break, I guess." The man didn't stay. He turned and walked out. When Kyle told me, I brushed it off. But deep down, something gnawed at me. It wasn't just weird anymore. It felt deliberate. Still, I didn't report it. What would I say? "Hi, some guy keeps ordering food and looking at me weird?" It didn't feel like enough. Not until that voicemail. Monday morning. I'd just gotten out of the shower when I noticed a missed call from a private number. I played the voicemail. At first, nothing. Just silence. Then, "Order number 247. Extra ketchup this time." My stomach flipped. I stared at the phone, heart thudding, trying to convince myself it was a prank. Maybe someone from work messing around. But how would they get my number? I deleted the voicemail, blocked unknown callers, told myself I was overreacting. But the next day, taped to my car windshield when I got off work, was a small slip of paper. A McDonald's receipt. Blank, no food items, just the timestamp, 3:14 p.m., and the words, "Still watching," scribbled on the back. I finally told my manager, Daryl. He shrugged and said, "Probably just some nut." "You want me to walk you to your car or something?" "That's it?" "Unless he's trespassing or making threats, there's not a lot I can do, Aaron." I reported it to the police too. Filed a report. Gave a description. They said the same thing. "No crime's been committed. Keep your doors locked." Thanks. The real breaking point came that Friday night. We were closing late. I was doing lobby cleanup with Nia. She'd already told me I could crash on her couch that night since I didn't feel safe driving home alone anymore. Around 11:40, I was wiping down the tables near the play area when I saw movement outside. Someone was standing by the dumpsters. The security lights flickered. For a moment, the figure disappeared. Then the lights buzzed back to life, and I saw the jacket. The same faded green jacket. He was standing completely still, head tilted slightly like he was trying to see inside the building. I backed away from the glass and grabbed Nia. She took one look and said, "Oh, hell no." We locked the front doors, called the cops. Again. They took 20 minutes to show up. By then, the man was gone. Again, nothing they could do. "Maybe install some cameras," the officer suggested, like we hadn't already. I stopped showing up for work after that. I told Daryl I was quitting. He didn't even ask why, just told me to bring back my uniform. For a week, things were quiet. I stayed inside, slept at Nia's, watched my phone like it might bite. No calls, no notes. I started to believe it was over. Until yesterday. I was finally back at my apartment. Nia had dropped me off after a grocery run. I checked my mailbox for the first time in days. Inside was a single envelope. No return address. I opened it. Inside was a Polaroid photo. It showed me, standing at the register at McDonald's, smiling, taking an order, unaware. On the back of the photo, written in jagged black ink, "Order 247. Never canceled." I don't sleep anymore. Not really. Every creak, every car passing outside feels like it might be him. I haven't told my mom. She already worries too much. I think about leaving Milford, about dropping out of school and just disappearing. But part of me knows it won't matter, because someone like him doesn't stop. He watches. He waits. He studies routine. And I know one day, probably when I've let my guard down just enough, that doorbell's going to ring, and he won't be waiting to place an order. Story 2. I never thought working the night shift at McDonald's could ruin my life. Not in the way people joke about. Dead-end jobs, grease in your pores, rude customers. I'm talking about real ruin. The kind that chews your mind raw and leaves you staring at the ceiling night after night, wondering if you imagined it all. But I know I didn't, because I was there, and I wasn't alone. This happened in 2020, right before the pandemic changed everything. I had just turned 23, moved back to my hometown of Marlow, Indiana, and was crashing in my mom's basement while I tried to figure out what the hell to do with my communications degree. Marlow's a tiny dot on the map between Fort Wayne and Indianapolis, one of those towns that seems stuck in time. Faded American flags on every porch, 2 gas stations, 1 pizza joint, and a Walmart that closes early because of staffing issues. Everyone knows everyone, and no one ever really leaves. I always said I would be the exception. Turns out, I wasn't. When I couldn't land anything in my field, I took the night shift at the Marlow McDonald's off Route 9. My buddy from high school, Jared, worked there as an assistant manager and promised the work was easy. "Just you, a few high weirdos, and a couple truckers," he said. "It's chill as hell." For a while, it was. We'd serve the stragglers who came in after midnight, blast music in the kitchen, and bullshit about old times. Sometimes we'd drag the outdoor bench around and sit under the buzzing yellow M, watching the highway lights flicker by like lazy fireflies. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and gave me some space to think. But then, November 18th happened. That night started like any other. I clocked in at 11:03 p.m., already annoyed because I'd had to dig my car out of a slush pile. Indiana winters don't ease you in. They just show up one day like an uninvited uncle and overstay their welcome. Inside, the restaurant was warm, almost too warm. The fryers were on full blast, and Jared had cranked the heat. He greeted me with his usual stupid grin. "Guess who brought pre-rolls for the back dumpster break?" he said, wiggling his eyebrows. "Jesus, Jared. Can we go one shift without you trying to get us fired? You act like we got corporate breathing down our necks. Come on, it's just me, you, and Trina tonight, and she's out back on her smoke break." Trina was our shift supervisor. 35, chain smoker, divorcee, and perpetually exhausted. She didn't care what we did as long as we didn't burn the place down. The only odd thing that night was the statue. Marlow McDonald's had this old Ronald statue out front, one of those vintage fiberglass ones from the 80s. Ronald sitting on a bench, legs crossed, one arm stretched out like he was welcoming you to hell with open arms. It was cheesy and sun-bleached and mostly ignored. But that night, the statue was facing the wrong direction. Instead of facing the road like usual, it had been turned to face the building, like it was watching us. I pointed it out to Jared. "That's weird, right?" He glanced out the window and shrugged. "Probably those high school kids again. They love messing with that thing. You'd need 3 guys to lift it? Maybe it was the wind. It weighs like 200 pounds. He gave me a look. "Dude, it's Ronald. Who gives a shit?" I wish I'd pressed harder. I wish I'd listened to that itch in the back of my skull that said something was off. But I didn't. Midnight rolled around, and we got the usual crowd. 2 guys in hunting gear ordering 30 nuggets each, a girl crying into her phone while ordering a large fry, and a drunk couple making out by the soda fountain. By 1:10 a.m., the place was dead. Trina was in the back doing inventory. Jared was mopping, and I was wiping down the front counters when the bell chimed. I looked up. No one came in. The door hadn't moved. Jared stopped mopping. "Did someone just—" Yeah. We both stared at the glass doors. Nothing. Just the empty parking lot under the orange glow of the sodium lights. I walked up and pushed them open, stepping outside into the cold. The air smelled like salt and old grease. I checked left, then right. Empty. But the statue was gone. I swear to God, it was just gone. "Hey!" I called over my shoulder. "Jared!" He came jogging out, still holding the mop. "What?" "Ronald's gone." He blinked at the empty slab of concrete where the statue had always sat. "What the actual fuck? Did you see anyone out here?" Number Jesus, someone must have hauled it off. Prank or something. "In 10 minutes? He didn't answer. Trina popped her head out the back door. "Y'all screwing around out here, or?" She stopped when she saw the empty space. "Where's the damn clown?" she asked. "We don't know," I said. "He was just here." And then the lights flickered. Just once. Enough to make all three of us look up. We went back inside, checked the cameras, but every feed had static between 12:58 and 1:06 a.m. Jared started getting nervous. "Maybe we should call someone." "Like who?" Trina said, lighting a cigarette right in the kitchen. "The clown police?" "I'm serious. Don't be a bitch." We argued for a while, but eventually went back to work. We were behind on cleaning, and the regional manager was doing pop-ins that week. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us. It got worse around 2:30. I was cleaning the milkshake machine when I heard someone humming. Software off-key, coming from the lobby. I stepped out front. The place was empty, but the humming was louder now, almost melodic. "Jared?" I called. He poked his head out of the walk-in. "What? You hear that?" He listened. Nothing. The humming stopped the second he entered the lobby. "Dude, you need sleep." By 3 a.m., things really started falling apart. Trina went missing first. One second she was doing inventory. The next she wasn't answering the radio. Jared and I searched the store. Freezer, supply room, bathrooms, nothing. The back door was open, just a crack, but her coat was still hanging by the register and her keys were in the drawer. I was shaking. "Should we call the cops?" Jared hesitated. "I don't want to get fired if she just ditched early. She wouldn't leave without her stuff. She's done weirder shit." That's when we heard the laugh. It came from the drive-through speaker, not a human laugh. Something warped, slowed down, almost metallic. And then the screen lit up. "Order 666, one soul, extra bleeding." I froze. Jared leaned close to the screen. "What the hell is this?" The screen flashed again. "Drive around. Don't forget to smile." And that's when we saw it. In the rear lot, by the dumpsters. A tall red and yellow figure. Standing. Ronald. But not the statue. He was moving, head tilted, one arm twitching. That plastic smile somehow wider. Stretched. Jared dropped the headset. "Nope. Fuck this." We ran. We made it about 50 feet before the lobby door slammed shut behind us. The air outside felt thick. Wrong. The lights were flickering overhead, and a low hum, the same off-key humming, filled the air. We ran for the car. Jared's hands were shaking as he fumbled with the keys. I looked over my shoulder. Ronald was gone, but the bench was back, facing the building again. Only now Trina was sitting on it. Except it wasn't her. Her skin looked rubbery, wax-like. Her eyes were glassy, frozen wide, like a statue. Jared screamed. We got in the car and peeled out of the lot, tires screeching. I don't even remember how we got home. I just remember shaking, crying. Jared throwing up in the sink when we got back to his place. We didn't go back to work. We didn't even report it. Because when we tried, there was no record of our shift. Our time cards were wiped. The cameras from that night, all corrupted. Trina's family said she was on leave, and the manager told corporate she'd transferred stores. 3 days later, a new Ronald statue appeared, in the same spot. This one smiling wider than before. That McDonald's shut down 5 months later. Quietly. No big announcement. Just paper on the windows one day and bulldozers the next. But the statue, it's gone. No one knows where it went. Jared moved to Kentucky. We haven't spoken since. I don't blame him. Me? I still see that clown sometimes. In dreams, in reflections. Once, I could have sworn he was waving at me from a cornfield outside Marlow. I haven't eaten at McDonald's since. And I never work night shifts anymore. Story 3. That night in Fair Hill, Ohio, 7 years ago, started like any other. Tired feet, a stack of overdue bills, and a kid who deserved better than what I could give him. I was 34, scraping by with two part-time jobs, one as a cashier at the Dollar Zone and the other cleaning houses on weekends. My ex-husband Darren hadn't called in months, and the child support checks had stopped arriving long before that. But somehow, Mason, my 9-year-old son, was doing all right. More than all right, really. He was thriving, straight A's, kind to everyone, sharp as a tack. He never complained, even when dinner was just cereal or canned ravioli again. That Friday was cold. Early December. The kind of Ohio winter where the wind cuts through your clothes like needles, and the gray skies feel like they've been stapled in place since Halloween. I picked Mason up from school late because I'd picked up a shift for someone who quit on the spot. When he got in the car, I saw a smile in his eyes before I even noticed the envelope in his hand. "What's that?" I asked. "My report card," he said, slipping it to me. I unfolded it. All A's. Again. He waited, fidgeting, like he was scared I might be too distracted to notice. I looked at him. "Mason, this is amazing." He smiled like I'd handed him a trophy. "You want to go out to eat?" I asked. "My treat." His eyes lit up. "Really?" "Anywhere cheap," I added quickly. "I mean, anywhere mostly cheap." He thought about it. "Cluckley's." Of course, I should have known. Cluckley's chicken wasn't just his favorite. It was our little spot. One of the last standing locations on the outskirts of town, tucked off Old Ridge Road near the Asheville line. It was the kind of place that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 90s. Fluorescent lights, sticky counters, a mascot that was supposed to be a smiling chicken but looked like it had been drawn by someone in a hurry. "All right," I said. "Cluckley's it is." We drove through winding back roads, the sun setting in pieces behind skeletal trees. The car heater only worked when it felt like it, and tonight wasn't one of those times. Mason kept his hood up, his hands tucked into his sleeves. I reached over to squeeze his shoulder. "We'll get the sandwich combo," I said. "Extra fries, and maybe even a milkshake." His grin could have lit up the whole car. The Cluckley's parking lot was nearly empty. Just two cars, one pulled in sideways near the dumpster, another idling out front with nobody inside. It struck me as odd, but not enough to raise any alarms. This place wasn't exactly buzzing most days. Inside, the lights were bright but too quiet. No chatter, no kitchen clatter, no pop music from the ceiling speakers. Just silence and that low, soft hum from the fryers. The man behind the counter looked up when we walked in. I'd never seen him before. He was tall, late 40s maybe, with graying stubble and skin that looked wrong. Not sickly, but stretched. Like it didn't quite fit him. His Cluckley's uniform hung on him awkwardly, like it was a costume borrowed last minute. The name tag read Lyle, but it looked handwritten, marker on tape. "Evenin'," he said. His voice was slow, like he was chewing every word before spitting it out. "Hi," I replied, pulling Mason closer to my side. "Can we get one classic Cluck combo, extra fries, and a kid's meal with no mayo on the sandwich?" Lyle stared down at Mason, his lips curling into a grin that showed a dark molar missing on the side. "You don't want the secret sauce?" he asked Mason directly. Mason didn't answer. He pressed closer to me. I forced a smile. "No thanks. He's picky." Lyle's grin didn't fade. He tapped slowly on the touchscreen register. "Special kids get special meals," he said. "Got a new game in the back, too. Real quiet. No lines. Bet he'd like it." "Just the food," I said, my tone sharpening. He didn't flinch, just nodded and muttered, "Sure thing, sweetheart." I paid cash. His fingers lingered against mine. We sat in a booth near the door while he shuffled slowly into the back. "Something's wrong with him," Mason whispered. "He smells weird." "He's just being creepy," I whispered back. "We'll get the food and leave." But something gnawed at me. The place was too empty. No sounds of cooking, no employees. Just Lyle, alone in this sterile bubble of silence. After about 5 minutes, he returned holding 2 bags. One white paper, grease-stained. The other, a kid's meal box with the Cluckley mascot smiling too wide. "For the little guy," he said. "Extra sauce." He winked. I didn't thank him. I just grabbed the bags and nudged Mason toward the door. We didn't speak again until we were in the car, locked in, engine running. Mason opened the kid's meal box first. Inside was a sandwich, a small fry, and a folded note. He handed it to me without a word. The handwriting was jagged, rushed, written in red ink. "Tell him to come alone next time. I'll be waiting." I could feel the light from the hallway spilling in. I didn't dare look. 20 seconds, maybe more. Long enough for me to picture being pulled out by my shirt, screaming. Long enough to imagine Lucy growing up without her big brother. But nothing happened. The door closed. Footsteps moved away. Out of the room, down the stairs. I didn't move for another 30 minutes. Maybe longer. Eventually, I heard the unmistakable sound of a car pulling into the driveway. Then another. The police. Flashlights outside. Voices. Doors. I bolted down the stairs. The front door was wide open. My dad turned just as I rushed into him, nearly knocking him over. "They were in the house," I gasped. 3 of them. They were in the house. It turns out the men had hit 3 houses that night. Ours was the only one they broke into while someone was still inside. They stole a laptop, some jewelry, and a camera. Story 4. I was 17 the summer it happened. It was the first and only time my parents ever left me alone for longer than a night. They were going to Seattle. My mom's college roommate, this rich, artsy type named Lenora, had invited them on a week-long gallery tour and wine country thing. Lenora was footing the bill. That woman didn't have kids, didn't have a partner, just had cash and time. And my parents? They jumped on it. We lived in Fairgrove, Pennsylvania, a quiet suburb on the outer edge of Chester County, where the houses get far apart and the roads go pitch dark after sunset. My parents' place wasn't huge, but it was old. 2 stories, creaky floors, and a backyard that led into dense woods. Beyond that, nothing but trees and deer trails for a mile. We had this big wooden deck out back and an above-ground pool off to the left of it, one of those 15-foot-wide round ones. Dad built a little koi pond, too. He was always looking for weekend projects. It was July. Sticky air, fireflies, the hum of cicadas. I remember because the house felt heavier when it was hot. Slower. Quieter. The day they left, my mom gave me one of those long, emotional talks. You'd think I was going to war, not staying in my own house with Wi-Fi and DoorDash. "Just don't throw a party," she said, hugging me tight. "And remember, lock up at night." She paused before getting in the car, like she wanted to say something else but didn't. That first day was fine. I FaceTimed a couple friends, Julia and Aaron, and we made vague plans to hang over the weekend. I had a part-time gig at this print shop, but I'd taken the week off. Honestly, I was excited to have the house to myself. No one bugging me. No dad grilling me about school. No mom reminding me about vitamins or curfews. That Thursday night is when it started. It was around 10:30. I was out on the deck, kicked back in a folding chair, smoking a little. I had my Bluetooth speaker on low, playing some lo-fi stuff, just enough to keep the silence from creeping in. The backyard was barely lit. 1 motion light on the garage, and the rest just soft moonlight and shadows. The pool sat quiet, a mirror of the sky. The woods behind it were dark as ink. Then I heard it. "Hey." A voice. I paused the music. Sat there, waited, nothing. Maybe I imagined it. Could have been a neighbor. Could have been the wind pulling weird through the trees. I hit play again, turned the volume down even lower. Then it came again. "Hey, over here." A man's voice. Distant, but not that distant. It was coming from the woods, maybe 20, 30 yards out, just past where the porch light started to die off into dark. I froze. It didn't make sense. We didn't have neighbors directly behind us. Just woods for a while, then a hiking trail that looped toward a quarry, but that was far. I turned the speaker off completely. Silence. Then, "We need help." This time I stood up. That voice. It wasn't panicked. It was steady. Too steady. Still, the part of me that wasn't paranoid, the decent, raised right part, called out, "Who's there?" No answer. I stepped to the edge of the deck and squinted into the trees. Then, "Straight ahead. Please come help us." The voice came again, clear but not loud. Calm, like someone talking, not shouting. I could just barely make out something moving, low to the ground. Not a figure, more like a shape. My skin crawled. I should have gone back inside right then. Instead, I walked down the steps onto the yard. I know how stupid that sounds, but I wasn't scared yet. Just on edge. Curious. I took 5 steps out into the grass, shoes crunching the dry blades beneath me. I cupped my hands and shouted, "Are you stuck or something?" The voice replied instantly, "Yes, come straight. I see you." My blood ran cold. There was no way they could see me. Not unless they were way closer than I thought. Not unless they were lying. And that realization finally reached the fear part of my brain. I stopped walking. "Are you alone?" I called. Silence. My heart started thudding. That kind of silence. It's loud. It says more than words ever could. I turned around slowly, eyes darting between the trees. Then I backed away, carefully, deliberately, never taking my eyes off the woods. I climbed back up onto the deck, went inside, and locked every door. I even wedged a chair under the sliding glass door handle like I'd seen in movies. My hands were shaking, but my brain was trying to logic its way out of it. Maybe it was just some dumb kids. Maybe I was too high. Maybe... Splash. My spine stiffened. It wasn't a big splash, more like a foot slipping into water. I hurried to the living room window, peeled the curtain back just an inch. Nothing at first. Then I saw it. A man, just his head, rising slowly behind the pool on the far side. His hair was wet, black, stringy. His eyes glinted in the moonlight, too wide, like he wasn't blinking. Then, as if he knew where I was watching from, he tilted his head. But the menu board at the drive-thru lit up, bright, like it had been waiting. I rolled down my window. Rain pattered in. The speaker made a low hum like it was warming up. Then a voice, crisp and smooth, came through. "Welcome to McRoy's. What can I get started for you tonight?" McRoy's? I stared at the menu. Everything looked off. The font was strange, blocky, and the food items weren't right. Stuff like smoked smile melt, all-night patty, bleeders combo. I leaned out, half joking, half curious. "You guys got fries?" "Fresh from the fryer. Would you like that with a bleeder?" "What's a bleeder?" No response, just a static pop. Then the voice again. "Pull forward, please." I should have left right then. But I didn't. I was caught in some kind of strange dream logic. Too tired to care, too far in to back out. I drove forward. The first window was dark. Black glass, no movement. I waited. And just as I was about to roll up the window and leave, a second voice, lower this time, almost a whisper, came through the speaker above the second window. "You've been here before." My throat went dry. I looked up at the window. Nothing. Just my own reflection. Then, "Same order, right? No onions?" My hand hovered over the gear shift. "Go ahead, pull up." I don't remember driving away. I don't remember turning back onto the road. All I remember is the rain slamming my windshield and my own breath in the car. Short, fast, panicked. When I got home, my phone buzzed with a notification. Thanks for visiting McRoy's. I opened the Maps app. The location tag read, McRoy's, Mercy, Indiana. Open 24 hours. I tapped it. No photos, no reviews. Just a message under the listing. You are always welcome. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept hearing that first voice in my head. And worse, I started remembering something I couldn't explain. A road trip with my dad when I was maybe 9 or 10. The two of us driving across Indiana to visit some family out in Illinois. We pulled off somewhere late, around midnight, and stopped at a strange burger place. I remember plastic booths, red tile floors, a clown face on the Happy Meal box, but not Ronald. Something else. Something I didn't want to remember. Was that McRoy's? Was that this place? A week later, I brought it up to a coworker, Tommy. Young guy. Smoked too much, always high, but smart in a stoned philosopher kind of way. I asked him straight up, "You ever heard of a place called McRoy's?" He was silent for a second. Then he said, "My cousin Tyler said something about that last year. Said he stopped at a place off 59 on his way back from Bloomington. Said it didn't look right. Old-style joint. Said he pulled through and a guy at the window asked him about his mother." What? Yeah, Tyler freaked. Peeled out before he got his food. Where's Tyler now? Tommy looked away. He, died. About 6 months ago. Car accident. Lost control on the same road. I didn't know what to say. From then on, I took the long way home. I tried to forget. Tried to focus on work. I even started looking into other jobs. Places in bigger towns. I didn't care if I had to commute. But 2 weeks ago, July 15th, my phone buzzed again. It's been a while. Your table's ready. No app, no notification, just a message. From a number with no contact, no area code. I turned off my phone. I deleted Maps. I blocked the number. Didn't matter. 2 nights later, I came home to find a paper bag on my doorstep. Grease-stained, no name, no receipt. Just one word written across it in red marker. No onions. I didn't open it. I threw it away, locked my door, and sat in my bedroom with a bat in one hand and a knife in the other until sunrise. I started researching after that. Spent every spare hour on old message boards, conspiracy threads, even Wayback snapshots of defunct chains. I found snippets, mentions of a McRoy's diner from the late 80s. Operated under a shell company. No official ties to McDonald's, but the logo was suspiciously similar. No franchise history, just scattered reports of people finding locations, only to never find them again. Sometimes they'd show up on satellite maps, sometimes in driving directions, but never in the same place twice. One user from 2006 claimed, "My brother worked there. Said they knew your name when you pulled up. He quit after the kitchen started sending out orders he didn't input. Said the meat didn't look like beef. Said it bled too long." Another post from 2012. "Whatever you do, don't eat it. The food's not for you. It's for something else." Last week I went back. I don't know why. Maybe to prove I wasn't crazy. Maybe to finish what I started. I drove out past the edge of Mercy, past the cornfields and rusted barns, past the billboard that used to say, "Exit 112, food and fuel," but now just reads, "Welcome back." The trees parted. The lot was lit. Full this time, cars in every stall, but not moving, just idling. Headlights on. I pulled in. The menu board didn't light up this time. The speaker didn't speak. But the second window? Wide open. And inside, I saw myself, staring back. Same face, same eyes, same uniform I'd worn 3 nights earlier at Bakerline. I reached out through the window, held out a bag. I didn't take it. I turned the car around and drove like hell. When I got home, the smell of fries was in my car. That was 5 days ago. Since then, no one at work has seen me. Except they have. Sort of. Tommy said I handed him a soda last night during his break. But I wasn't there. I was home. Lights off, doors locked. And just now I got a notification. Thanks for visiting McRoy's. Please rate your experience. I won't go back, but I think I already did. And if you're ever out in Indiana, near a town called Mercy, and you see a golden M glowing behind some trees after midnight, don't stop, even if you're starving, even if it calls your name, because once you order, they remember you. And the thing behind the second window, it's not you anymore.